Ladies and gentlemen, there is a time for speech and there is a time for silence. Words are powerful, but so too is the absence of them. To speak at the wrong moment can wound, invite folly, or reveal what is best left hidden. Silence chosen wisely is not cowardice, it is wisdom in restraint. There are moments in life when the urge to speak rises like a wave, driven by emotion, frustration, or even the sincere desire to correct or advise. Yet not all words serve the purpose we intend. In some cases they do not mend but rather deepen wounds. Silence in such times is not an absence of courage but the presence of wisdom. When emotions run high, words spoken in haste can cause irreversible harm. Anger, disappointment, or even well-intended but poorly chosen remarks can leave scars far deeper than we anticipate. People rarely remember the exact details of a conversation, but they will remember how words made them feel. A harsh response, a dismissive comment, or a careless remark can linger in someone's heart long after the moment has passed. Silence, on the other hand, provides a chance for emotions to settle. It allows space for clarity, reflection, and understanding. Instead of fueling a fire with impulsive words, silence can act as a pause, a moment of restraint that prevents regret. It is often in conflicts that silence proves its worth. When faced with an argument, many believe that responding immediately and forcefully asserts strength. But true strength often lies in the ability to withhold words that would escalate rather than resolve. In the heat of the moment, words may not reflect reason or fairness, but merely the intensity of the emotion behind them. A moment of silence, even in the midst of provocation, can change the course of a disagreement. It allows both sides to process their feelings before more harm is done. Silence is an act of empathy. There are times when people share their struggles, pain, or disappointments, seeking not solutions but simply an ear that listens without judgment. In such moments, words of advice may seem helpful, but they can also feel dismissive of another's pain. A person in grief does not always need to hear that everything will be all right. Sometimes they just need the quiet presence of someone who understands. Choosing silence in these instances is not passive, it is an active decision to prioritize the emotions of another over the instinct to respond. In relationships, whether with friends, family, or colleagues, there are times when silence safeguards bonds. Not every thought must be spoken. Not every opinion needs to be shared. Words can be bridges, but they can also be weapons. A careless remark about someone's shortcomings, even if true, can damage trust. An unnecessary critique, even if valid, can create resentment. Choosing silence does not mean ignoring the truth, but rather recognizing that timing and delivery matter. Some truths are best shared in a moment of calm, rather than in a moment of frustration. The wisdom of silence lies in its ability to protect, to preserve, and to give space for thought. It prevents regret, nurtures understanding, and upholds dignity. While words have the power to heal, they also have the power to wound. Knowing when to speak and when to remain silent is one of life's greatest disciplines, a discipline that shapes character, strengthens relationships, and fosters wisdom. Silence is often mistaken for ignorance, but in reality, it is one of the greatest shields against folly. When faced with situations where understanding is incomplete or uncertain, the temptation to speak can be strong. People fear appearing uninformed, weak, or disengaged. Yet speaking without a clear grasp of the matter at hand frequently leads to confusion, misrepresentation, and even unintended harm. It is in these moments that silence proves to be the wiser path, allowing space for learning, observation, and reflection before words are spoken. In conversations, especially those involving complex topics, there is a natural inclination to contribute. The desire to appear knowledgeable or to avoid seeming unprepared can drive people to offer opinions on matters they do not fully understand. However, speaking from a place of ignorance often leads to misinformation, weak arguments, or statements that do not withstand scrutiny. It is far better to remain silent, to listen attentively, and to absorb what is being said. A thoughtful pause gives one the opportunity to grasp the nuances of a discussion, to ask the right questions, and to gain the knowledge needed before responding meaningfully. Silence is also an antidote to pride. Many fall into the habit of speaking simply to assert their presence, to prove a point, or to maintain an illusion of expertise. Yet true wisdom is not found in the number of words spoken, but in their depth and accuracy. A person who knows when to remain silent demonstrates humility, an acknowledgement that there is more to learn. This restraint not only protects the individual from embarrassment but also fosters deeper intellectual growth. Those who listen more than they speak often gain insights that the overly talkative miss. In professional and social settings, rushing to speak without full comprehension can have significant consequences. A leader who makes a decision based on partial understanding risks steering an entire group in the wrong direction. A friend who offers advice without grasping the full context of a situation may unintentionally cause harm rather than help. Silence provides time for careful consideration, ensuring that when words are finally spoken, they carry weight and meaning rather than empty noise. Silence preserves relationships. Miscommunication often arises when individuals speak without fully understanding one another. Jumping to conclusions, misinterpreting intent, or making assumptions based on incomplete information can lead to unnecessary conflicts. When one refrains from immediate responses and instead takes time to understand the perspective of others, discussions become more productive. Rather than reacting impulsively, silence allows for measured, thoughtful dialogue that strengthens rather than weakens connections. The ability to remain silent in moments of uncertainty is not a sign of passivity but of strength. It demonstrates self-control, patience, and a commitment to truth rather than mere opinion. In a world where voices constantly clamor for attention, the discipline of listening and thinking before speaking sets one apart. Words once spoken cannot be taken back, but silence holds the power to prevent folly before it begins. The wise do not fear silence. They embrace it as a tool for discernment, learning, and ultimately, for speaking with greater wisdom when the time is right. Anger is a force that can spread like wildfire, consuming reason and leaving destruction in its path. When tempers flare, the natural instinct is often to respond in kind, to defend, to retaliate, to assert one's stance. However, words spoken in anger rarely bring resolution. More often, they escalate the conflict, deepening wounds and creating resentment that lingers long after the moment has passed. In such situations, silence becomes a powerful tool, not of weakness but of strength. It is a barrier that prevents unnecessary conflict, allowing emotions to settle before irreversible damage is done. Silence in the face of anger is not an act of surrender, it is an act of wisdom. When one person is consumed by frustration or rage, their ability to reason diminishes. In such a state, logical arguments are ineffective, and even the most well-intended words can be twisted into fuel for further hostility. Responding with silence removes the immediate source of confrontation. It does not mean ignoring the issue, but rather choosing to delay engagement until a more rational discussion can take place. Silence grants time not only for the angry person to cool down, but also for oneself to respond with clarity rather than impulse. Beyond preventing escalation, silence also serves as a mirror. When anger is met with no resistance, it forces the enraged individual to confront their own emotions. Without a verbal opponent to push against, the intensity of their fury often diminishes. They may begin to hear the sharpness in their own voice, feel the weight of their words, and recognize the futility of their aggression. Silence, in this way, allows the storm to pass without unnecessary destruction. In relationships, whether among friends, family, or colleagues, moments of anger are inevitable. Disagreements arise, misunderstandings occur, and emotions can flare unexpectedly. But the way these moments are handled determines the strength of the relationship. Those who meet anger with anger create an environment of hostility, where words become weapons and winning becomes more important than understanding. Those who meet anger with silence, however, create space for patience, for reflection, and for eventual reconciliation. They do not deny the existence of the problem, but choose to address it when it can be done with reason rather than raw emotion. Silence in moments of anger preserves dignity. It prevents regret, ensuring that no words are spoken that must later be taken back. Too often, people find themselves apologizing for things said in the heat of the moment, words that cut deeper than intended, accusations that were unfounded, or insults that were never meant. Choosing silence eliminates this risk. It allows one to maintain self-respect, to demonstrate self-control, and to lead by example. There is a time for speaking, and there is a time for silence. In the face of anger, silence is not avoidance, it is strategy. It is the conscious decision to rise above immediate emotion and prioritize peace over pride. It is the wisdom to recognize that not every battle needs to be fought with words, and that often, the greatest strength lies in knowing when to say nothing at all. Trust is one of the most fragile and valuable aspects of human relationships. It is built over time through consistency, honesty, and reliability, but it can be shattered in a moment of betrayal. One of the surest ways to establish and maintain trust is by keeping confidences, guarding the secrets, struggles, and personal matters that others entrust to us. When someone shares something in confidence, they are not merely offering information, they are offering a piece of themselves, believing that it will be protected. To honor that trust is to demonstrate integrity, while to break it is to risk losing credibility and respect. Keeping confidences is not always easy. There may be moments when sharing privileged information feels tempting, perhaps to gain favor, to appear knowledgeable, or simply because the weight of secrecy is heavy. Yet, resisting this temptation is a mark of strength and character. Integrity is not just about doing what is right when others are watching, it is about remaining steadfast even when no one would know the difference. A person who can be trusted with the words of others earns a reputation for reliability, becoming someone others feel safe confiding in. The ability to keep a confidence is especially crucial in deep relationships, whether among friends, family, or colleagues. When a person opens up about their fears, challenges, or private struggles, they do so with an unspoken expectation of discretion. If their trust is broken, the damage can be difficult to repair. The pain of betrayal lingers far beyond the moment of disclosure, leaving the person hesitant to trust again. In contrast, when someone proves time and again that they are a safe harbor for personal truths, relationships grow stronger, built on a foundation of mutual respect and security. In professional settings, the ability to keep confidences is equally important. Leaders, mentors, and colleagues often deal with sensitive information, whether regarding business strategies, personnel matters, or confidential discussions. A person who is known for handling such information with discretion is valued and respected. Conversely, a reputation for loose speech can lead to lost opportunities, strained relationships, and a lack of credibility. People are naturally drawn to those they can trust, and an individual who respects confidentiality earns not only trust but also influence. Beyond interpersonal relationships, keeping confidences is a reflection of one's internal moral compass. It speaks to one's ability to prioritize principles over momentary gain. In a world where gossip and information sharing have become casual pastimes, the ability to guard another's words is a rare and admirable trait. It signals maturity, self-discipline, and a deep understanding of the weight that words carry. When someone entrusts us with their thoughts, fears, or struggles, they are making themselves vulnerable. Choosing to protect that vulnerability rather than exploit it is a defining characteristic of a person with integrity. Trust, once broken, is difficult to rebuild, but trust that is honored deepens connections, strengthens character, and cements a reputation as someone who is not only trustworthy but truly worthy of trust. There is a quiet strength in humility, a dignity that speaks louder than words ever could. In a world that often rewards self-promotion and the constant announcement of achievements, the ability to refrain from boastful speech is a sign of wisdom and self-assurance. While confidence is valuable, excessive self-praise diminishes respect rather than earning it. True greatness does not require validation from others, and those who possess it rarely feel the need to declare it. Avoiding boastful speech not only preserves dignity but also fosters a sense of humility that is far more admirable than any grand claim of superiority. Boasting is often rooted in insecurity. Those who feel the need to constantly highlight their accomplishments are often seeking approval or reassurance. They fear that if they do not remind the world of their worth, they will go unnoticed. Yet the irony is that excessive boasting often has the opposite effect. Instead of admiration, it breeds resentment or indifference. People naturally gravitate toward those who exude quiet confidence rather than those who demand recognition. The most respected individuals are often those who achieve much yet speak little of it, allowing their actions to serve as their testimony. There is also great wisdom in letting others speak of one's virtues rather than declaring them oneself. Praise that comes from an external source carries far more weight than self-promotion. When someone is truly accomplished, their work and character speak for them. Others take notice, and genuine recognition follows naturally. Those who constantly announce their own greatness, however, risk appearing arrogant or self-absorbed. They may receive polite acknowledgement, but it is rarely the deep respect that is given to those who display humility. Humility does not mean denying one's strengths or pretending to be less than one is. It is not about false modesty or self-deprecation. Rather, it is the understanding that worth is not measured by how loudly one proclaims it. A truly confident person does not need to overshadow others or demand attention. They find contentment in their achievements without feeling the need to parade them before the world. They understand that true respect is earned through character, not words. Avoiding boastful speech allows for deeper connections with others. People are more inclined to relate to those who are genuine and unpretentious. Conversations that center around constant self-promotion can feel one-sided, leaving others feeling insignificant or disengaged. True humility invites meaningful interactions where individuals feel valued not for what they have achieved, but for who they are. It creates an environment where others feel comfortable sharing their own experiences rather than feeling the need to compete. Dignity is best preserved when one carries success with grace rather than pride. There is an elegance in restraint, a quiet nobility in allowing actions to speak louder than words. Those who refrain from boastful speech not only maintain their own integrity, but also inspire others to do the same. Their humility becomes a testament to their strength, proving that true greatness requires no announcement, only recognition earned through character and deeds. Unfair criticism is one of the most difficult things to endure. It strikes at one's sense of justice, provoking the urge to defend, explain, or retaliate. The natural instinct is to set the record straight, to argue, to prove one's innocence. Yet in many cases silence is the far wiser response. It is not an act of weakness but of discipline, allowing truth to stand on its own, rather than be drowned in a sea of unnecessary words. When faced with false accusations or unwarranted criticism, remaining silent can be the strongest proof of character, demonstrating self-control, confidence, and trust in time's ability to reveal what is right. Words spoken in anger or self-defense rarely achieve their intended effect. When a person feels wronged, they may respond hastily, driven by emotion rather than reason. In such moments, explanations can seem like excuses, and defenses can appear as desperate attempts to shift blame. Those who criticize unfairly are often not interested in the truth. They seek reaction, they feed on conflict. Engaging with them only grants them more power. Silence, however, denies them that satisfaction. It removes their ability to escalate the situation, leaving their words to stand alone, unsupported by further dispute. Over time, truth has a way of surfacing on its own. A person who consistently lives with integrity does not need to fight every falsehood spoken against them. Their actions, their reputation, and the way they conduct themselves speak louder than any rebuttal ever could. People of wisdom and discernment recognize the difference between truth and slander. They observe patterns of behavior, and they see through baseless accusations. Those who respond to unfair criticism with silence place their trust in this process, allowing their actions to confirm their character, rather than engaging in futile debates. Silence also preserves dignity. Engaging in arguments over unjust criticism often lowers one to the level of the accuser. When someone is accused unfairly, responding with anger or frustration can make them appear guilty in the eyes of those who do not know the full story. By remaining silent, they refuse to validate the accusation. They choose instead to rise above it, demonstrating that their integrity does not depend on winning an argument. True confidence is not found in constant self-defense, but in the quiet assurance that one's character will speak for itself in the long run. Silence denies power to those who seek to harm. Some individuals criticize unfairly not out of misunderstanding, but out of malice. They aim to provoke, to unsettle, to bring others down. Engaging with them only fuels their efforts, giving them more opportunities to twist words and prolong conflict. Silence, however, leaves them with nothing to grasp. It removes their ability to manipulate and leaves them speaking into emptiness, where their words eventually lose strength. A person who chooses silence in the face of unfair criticism places trust not in immediate vindication, but in the power of truth to prevail. They understand that not every battle is worth fighting, and that sometimes the greatest strength lies in restraint. Over time, those who are just and wise will see what is real, and in the end, truth will stand unshaken.